Welcome to the Pardes channel. Today we explain Prophets Joshua chapter 7 in a clear and simple way, step by step.
We're jumping right into a massive hidden problem that completely sets the stage for everything that follows in this story. Right off the bat, the text reveals a secret crime to us, the readers. Even before Joshua, the leader of Israel, has any clue what's going on, we're told that a man named Achan, specifically the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah from the tribe of Judah, has secretly stolen forbidden items. He acted unfaithfully. And because of this, just this one man's hidden action instantly triggers God's burning anger against the entire nation. The text establishes right away that the fate of the individual and the fate of the whole nation are intimately, absolutely tied together.
Now, before we trace exactly how this incredible drama unfolds, I just want to clarify how we're going to approach our explainer today. We are going to strictly use the Peshat method. Peshat simply means the literal or plain meaning of the text. We're not going to be looking at mystical interpretations, Kabbalah, or hidden allegories today. Honestly, the literal history of Joshua is incredibly dramatic and rich enough completely on its own. By focusing on the straightforward reading of exactly what the words say, step by step, we can fully grasp the incredible tension, the geography, and the heavy moral weight of these historical events exactly as they were recorded.
So the absolutely crucial point we learn in the very first verse is that Achan took the devoted things. This is a concept known in biblical Hebrew as Cherem, but what exactly does that mean in this context? Well, these were specific items from the previous battle at the city of Jericho that God had strictly commanded to be either completely destroyed or set apart exclusively for the treasury of the Lord. They were literally not for personal use. By taking these items, Achan didn't just commit, petty theft. He directly violated a massive divine boundary. He took something that belonged entirely to the divine king, bringing a serious curse upon himself and the entire camp.
Completely ignorant of Achan's hidden crime and the fact that God's favor has just been lost, Joshua confidently proceeds with his military campaign. He sends spies from Jericho up into the hills to map out their very next target, a city called Ai, which the text specifically notes is near Beth Aven to the east of Bethel. And these spies, they return brimming with total overconfidence. They tell Joshua, hey, don't even bother sending the whole army. Just send 2,000 or 3,000 men, because honestly, only a few men are there. They assume this is going to be a completely effortless victory. They are entirely unaware that the divine protection that handed them Jericho has just been totally removed.
So Joshua follows their advice. He sends about 3,000 men up the hill to attack Ai. But instead of this easy victory they were banking on, they are shockingly routed. It's a complete disaster. The men of Ai strike down 36 Israelites, utterly shattering their ranks. The Israelites literally break and run for their lives, and the men of Ai chase them from the city gates all the way down to Shebarim, the stone quarries, striking them down on the steep descent. The text tells us that because of this sudden, devastating reversal, the hearts of the Israelite people melted and became like water. Their absolute rock-solid confidence just evaporates into pure terror.
The reaction to this sudden defeat is profound, to say the least. Joshua is in absolute despair. Notice what he does here. He doesn't call an emergency military strategy meeting to review tactics. He immediately turns to God. He tears his clothes, which is a literal, ancient sign of deep, uncontrollable mourning. He falls face down to the ground before the Ark of the Covenant and just stays there until the evening. The Ark represents God's direct presence, right? So falling before it shows that Joshua feels completely and totally abandoned. The elders of Israel join him, throwing dust on their heads, totally shattered by the terrifying realization that God's presence has left their army.
While he's down on the ground, Joshua cries out in a really desperate prayer. He asks why God brought them across the Jordan River just to be destroyed by the Amorites. His main fear is captured perfectly in his plea. He says, the Canaanites and the other people of the country will hear about this, and they will surround us and wipe out our name from the earth. Joshua understands that Israel's terrifying reputation, which is tied directly to God's great name, was literally their only real defense in this hostile land. If their enemies realize they are vulnerable, there's no way around it, they will be utterly annihilated.
But then we get this incredibly dramatic shift. God actually interrupts Joshua's mourning. He essentially says, stand up, what are you doing down on your face? God reveals to Joshua exactly why he's being so abrupt. The time for mourning and crying is over, because the defeat at Ai wasn't some sort of military failure, it was a severe moral one. There is active corruption within the camp that absolutely must be purged right away. God makes it crystal clear that Israel has lost its divine protection because there is an unaddressed hidden sin sitting right in the middle of their own community.
God lays out a very specific 5-part indictment against the nation, and you have to listen to the compounding nature of the verbs used here. God says Israel has sinned, they have violated the covenant, they have taken the devoted things, they have stolen, they have lied, and they have hidden the items among their own possessions. Do you see that? They didn't just break a minor rule. They systematically deceived the community and polluted their own camp by bringing cursed items into their homes. God explicitly states that until this hidden sin is removed, the Israelites will constantly turn their backs and run from their enemies.
So how do they fix this massive breach of trust? Well, God outlines a highly structured, tense, step-by-step investigation plan that has to be carried out the very next morning. It's a process of elimination by divine lot. They likely use the Urim and Thummim, which were the sacred lots kept by the high priest to determine God's will. First, the entire nation presents itself tribe by tribe. Then, the chosen tribe steps forward clan by clan. Then family by family. And finally, man by man. Can you imagine the immense, terrifying suspense this slow progression is going to create throughout the camp?
The stakes here are incredibly severe. Joshua is commanded to tell the people to consecrate themselves, meaning they need to physically and spiritually prepare and purify themselves for tomorrow's divine judgment. And the punishment for the guilty party? It is absolute. Whoever is caught with the devoted things will be destroyed by fire along with everything he owns. God explains that this is because the guilty person violated the covenant and committed a disgraceful thing in Israel. This wasn't just a basic property crime. It was high treason against their divine king, literally threatening the survival of the entire nation.
The next morning, Joshua executes the plan exactly as commanded, and we see the lineage we heard about in verse 1 play out in real time. Out of the millions of Israelites, the tribe of Judah is taken. The net tightens. From Judah, the clan of the Zerahites is chosen. Tighter still, from the Zerahites, the family of Zimri is singled out. Finally, they come forward man by man, and Achan, son of Carmi, is left standing entirely alone. The divine lot has successfully pierced through all the deception. The secret is out, and the man responsible for the defeated Ai is fully exposed before the entire assembly.
What is really fascinating here is Joshua's tone. He doesn't scream at Achan. He doesn't strike him. Instead, he approaches him with a solemn, surprising calmness. He says, "My son, give glory to the Lord, the God of Israel, and give him the praise. Tell me what you have done. Do not hide it from me." You might be wondering, why does a confession give glory to God? Well, because by publicly admitting his guilt, Achan is validating God's judgment. He proves that God was completely just in removing his protection at Ai, which clears the divine name of any accusation of unfaithfulness.
Achan completely breaks down and confesses. He admits, "It is true, I have sinned against the Lord." And then he lists the exact items he just couldn't resist. He details a beautiful, incredibly expensive robe from Shinar in Babylonia, 200 shekels of silver, and a solid wedge of gold weighing 50 shekels, which, to put that into perspective, is roughly over a pound of pure gold. It was the intense physical temptation of foreign luxury and vast wealth that completely blinded him to the strict rules of the covenant. He openly admits the progression of his sin. He saw them, he coveted them, and he took them.
To complete his confession, Achan provides the specific, literal detail of where these forbidden items are hiding right now. He tells Joshua, "They are hidden in the ground inside my tent with the silver underneath." The profound irony here is inescapable, isn't it? He risked the lives of his entire nation, caused the death of 36 soldiers, and incurred the burning wrath of God, all just to bury treasure in the dirt where he couldn't even enjoy it. He couldn't wear the robe, he couldn't spend the silver. His greed brought him absolutely nothing but a hole in the ground. Joshua immediately sends messengers, and the text says they literally run to the tent to verify the story. And exactly as Achan said, the items are hidden right there, with the silver placed at the bottom. The messengers dig up the loot, they bring the items back to Joshua and all the Israelites, and they spread them out physically before the Lord. This action of laying the stolen items bare before God represents the total exposure of the sin. It proves to the entire community and to God that the corruption has been found and the matter is finally ready to be resolved.
The consequences of this sin are incredibly grave. God's law regarding the devoted things must be fulfilled completely. Joshua and all Israel take Achan and everything connected to him out to a place that will become known as the Valley of Achor. They march out the stolen items, Achan himself, his sons and daughters, his livestock, his tent, and every single thing he owned. Now, this is a really difficult concept for us today, but in ancient times, a household was considered a single inseparable unit. Furthermore, Achan's family almost certainly knew about a giant hole being dug to hide treasure inside their shared living space.
Before the sentence is carried out, Joshua speaks his final words to Achan, stating a simple but profound poetic justice. He says, "Why have you brought this trouble on us? The Lord will bring trouble on you today." The word for trouble in biblical Hebrew here is Achor, which is the exact reason the valley gets its name. Because Achan troubled all of Israel by violating the sacred boundary of the Cherem, that very same devastating trouble now returns directly, physically, and permanently right onto his own head.
The text plainly and directly describes the severe execution that follows. As prescribed by God, all Israel stones Achan. After the stoning, they burn him and all that belongs to him with fire, exactly as God commanded earlier in the chapter. Finally, they heap up a massive pile of rocks over the ashes. It is a harsh, literal cleansing of the camp. But notice the deep contrast here. Unlike Achan's total disobedience at Jericho, the nation of Israel is now acting in strict, uncompromising obedience to God's incredibly difficult command to remove the unfaithful act from their midst.
The immediate aftermath is that once the devoted things are destroyed and the sin is entirely eradicated, the Lord turns from his fierce anger. The covenant relationship between God and Israel is completely reset and restored. And as the text notes, that large pile of rocks serves as a permanent historical marker. The place is called the Valley of Achor, or the Valley of Trouble, to this very day. It stood as a physical, sobering warning to every single Israelite who walked past that valley for generations to come about the severe cost of breaking the divine covenant.
So, having walked step by step through the literal Peshat history of this text, we really have to pause and ask ourselves the most important questions. What key ideas and practical life lessons can we extract from this specific narrative today? I mean, how does a historical account about ancient battles, geography, and stolen gold apply to the way we conduct our lives right now? Let's take a look at 4 very distinct, grounded takeaways from Joshua chapter 7 that we can actually use.
The lessons here are incredibly relevant to us right now. First, Achan shows us that our hidden, private actions can deeply impact our entire community. There is truly no such thing as a sin that only affects you. Second, the Israelite spies at Ai teach us that overconfidence, relying on bad assumptions, and moving forward without seeking direction can lead to immediate, unexpected disaster. Third, Achan's tragic theft proves that material greed often completely blinds us to the much larger, devastating consequences of our actions. And finally, Joshua's response shows that honest confession and bringing hidden things completely to the light is absolutely necessary for authentic healing and moving forward. I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to reflect on as you go about your week. How do our own unseen, hidden choices impact the camp of our family, our friends, and our broader community around us today? Thank you for learning with us. If this helped you understand the chapter better, like, subscribe, and join us for the next chapter.